Salamun alaikum. I'd like to thank the Quran-based Jummah committee for once again inviting me to present a Jummah for this week. My name is Farouk, and my website is called Quranology, and we have a particular approach to the Quran called existential Quranism. We're not the only proponents of this approach, although probably at this point in time we're the only ones who use the term existential Quranism. This particular approach reads the Quran with great focus on the reader. How does the reader as a human being experience the Quran? So the Quran is not being read here as a historical text, as a text of religious genealogies, as a text of ritual. Rather, it addresses the problem of your being. Hence, the series is called Quran and Human Being. Today we will be talking about B2B reading. In the field of information technology, IT, B2B refers to a software which is business to business. Hence, it is a complete process, and it leaves point A and arrives at point B with completion. Coincidentally, this is also our B2B. Our B2B means Bismillah to Bismillah, B2B. And the Bismillah obviously refers to the Quranic formula, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This formula is known to all Muslims. I suspect from the earliest age, Muslims are told to do everything with Bismillah because it is with the name of Allah. I will call this formula Basmala because that's how Muslims address or Muslims talk about this formula. It's called the Basmala. And the Basmala begins every chapter of the Quran. There are 113 Basmala in Quran, and therefore 113 segments. Some people say, well, there is one chapter which doesn't begin with the Basmala, but I disagree with that, and for reasons which I will expound below. So take it for now that the Quran has 113 Basmalas and so 113 segments. So I believe that the Quran is actually very vocal about the Basmala, although not in the language which we perceive. Take a minute to understand, to see how Basmala changes the tone of your reading. Take for example the end of chapter 2, which ends with Fansurna ala al-qawmil kafirin. So help us against the disbelieving people. That ends chapter 2. Next we have chapter 3, which starts with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, which then goes Alif Lam Mim. So you can see that there is an immediate change of tone, and that shows you what the Bismillah is for. It closes off one segment and begins another segment. And you will see this with I would say most of the Basmalas. You will see how it works. But with chapter 8, you will see that it does not need a Basmala to flow into chapter 9. That's why there's no Basmala there. Chapter 9 does not begin with a Basmala. So we need to account for that, and the reason is it's not a separate chapter. It's actually one chapter. That's why I call it chapter 8/9. It is one long chapter, 200 over verses. Right, first we begin by acknowledging what I call the Kitabiyah aspect of the Quran. Kitabiyah means the book form of it, the systematicness of it. This Kitabiyah aspect is actually acknowledged by Allah Himself. If you turn to chapter 15, verse 1, Al-Hijr, verse 1, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alif Lam Ra, Tilka Ayatul Kitab wa Qur'anun Mubin. Alif Lam Ra. These are the signs of the book. Al-Kitab. What is the book? Wa Qur'anun Mubin. And clear recitation. So the Quran is in the form of a book, and Allah descended it as that book. Therefore, we need to acknowledge its bookness, its kitabiyah, and therefore see that Allah is the one who arranged this book. Then next, what we discover, what is the function of this book. And it says, وَبِالْحَقِّ أَنزَلْنَهُ, and with truth we descended it. وَبِالْحَقِّ نَزَلَ, and in truth, with truth, it descended. That's a double emphasis there. Very interestingly, there is a double emphasis there. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ, and we did not send you, إِلَّا مُبَشِّرًا وَنَذِيرًا, except as a mubashir, a bringer of glad tidings, وَنَذِيرًا, and a warner. So this talks about the Quran. Now look what it says. وَقُرْآنًا, and a Quran. فَرَقْنَهُ, we divided it. لِتَقْرَهُ عَلَى النَّاسِ عَلَى مُكْثٍ وَنَزَّلْنَهُ تَنزِيلًا, and we descended it with a descent. So Qur'anan faraqnahu, we divided it. Who is talking here? It is obviously Allah. So if Allah has divided it, therefore its divisions are in the name of Allah. Bismillah. So you can see here that the Bismillahs are there لِتَقْرَهُ عَلَى النَّاسِ, or to be recited upon mankind. And this makes perfect sense. You obviously cannot expect people to wait there while you recite the entire Quran to them. So instead, Allah gives you sections so that you may recite to humankind ala mukth, which means at intervals. Yeah. So here you can see the reason why the Bismillah is there is to give us the interval reading. And this shows the function of the basmala. Next, we look at the completeness of the basmala. Yeah? That is in chapter 41, verses 2 to 3. It's 41:2 reads, Tanzilum min ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Tanzilun, a descent. Min ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Where have we seen ar-Rahman ar-Rahim? The Bismillah. In fact, this phrase ar-Rahman ar-Rahim appears, I think, 4 times, maybe 5 times outside the Bismillah in the Quran. Only 4 times or 5 times. Chapter 2, verse 163 is one of them. This is another one. There is another one in chapter 27, verse 30. Another one in chapter 57 or 59. I think it's chapter 59, verse 22. So we can see that the phrase Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim is very few, and it has a specific connotation, a specific purpose. Here it's talking about the descent. Tanzilun min Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, a descent from Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. So it's reminding you of the Bismillah now. It says, then it continues, 41:3. It says, Kitabun, a book, fussilat ayatuhu, elucidated are its signs or verses. Qur'anan Arabiyan liqawmi ya'lamun, a faultless recitation for those who seek knowledge or who continuously enhance their knowledge. So, if we take this to mean that each basmala represents a kitab, and we will see a confirmation of this in a bit, then that each of those kitab are fussilat, they are elucidated or detailed in itself. So whatever is between 2 bismillahs are detailed as for that particular topic. What is the topic? We'll talk about that in a bit. Next we move on to chapter 98, verses 1 to 3. Chapter 98 verse 1 starts with al-bayyinah, or the clarification. It says, Lam yakun alladhina kafaru min ahli al-kitab wal mushrikeen. Verily, those who reject from among the Ahl al-Kitab, the people of the book, and the associators, mushrikeen, mumfakkina, they will not depart hatta ta'tiyahumul bayyinah, until it comes to them al-bayyinah. Al-bayyinah shows that they understand something, because that's why they departed. They reject, so they depart. What is this bayyinah? It continues, verse 2, Rasulun min Allah yatlu suhufan mutahhara, a messenger from Allah who practices or recites the purified pages. He's talking about the Quran now. Verse 3. Fiha, in it. Talking about the purified pages. Suhufa mutahara. Fiha, in it. Kutubum qayyima. Are books which are standing. They are established. Qayyima. Yeah, it comes from the word aqama, which means to stand. So here we can see that in the purified pages there are books. And these books are self-sufficient. They stand on their own. What are these books? They give you bayyina. Even those who reject will be able to see their purpose. So here we can see that the Quran is alluding to the kitabs within the Quran. Now I'm not saying kitabs only refer to what is between the Bismillah to Bismillah, but if we concord all these verses together, we will see this. So we will come now to the final verse, which is in chapter 27 verse 30, and is a hint or a suggestion given by the Malikatu Saba, the Queen of Saba, where she says, hold on a minute, there we have it. She said, Qalat, she said, Ya ayyuhal mala, O chiefs, this is the queen, she's speaking. Inni ulkiya ilayya kitabun kareem. It has been given to me an honored book. Kitabun kareem. Yeah? And it says, Innahu min Sulaiman, because obviously Sulaiman is the one who gave it to her. Wa innahu, and verily it is, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we can see that the Basmala begins a kitab. So again, the kitabiyah aspect of the Quran is being alluded to here. So what does this tell you about the Basmala? That the Basmala is indeed a very important formula, which if we exercise in our reading, we will be able to gain bayyina, or clarification. And obviously the bayyina will address our human condition. That's the purpose of Quran and human being, after all. So what should we do then? Obviously, if you're talking about rather huge chapters like Baqarah, Ali Imran, Baqarah is 286 verses, Ali Imran is 200 verses, Al-Nisa 176 verses, Ma'idah is 120 verses. It takes a long time. It takes a long time. There are huge chapters in the Quran. So what we should do is, we should recite smaller or medium-sized chapters. Chapters at the end, they only take you like what, a minute maybe to recite? And obviously not recite just blindly. You need to recite and grasp the meaning as well. So when you can, try to read the big chapters when you have that particular space in time, and try to break them down, see what's between those two basmalas. But if you can't, there's always the smaller chapters. Try to avoid reading one verse and not seeing what else is between those two basmalas, because every single ayat in the Quran is within two basmalas, and therefore it must have a contextual meaning. And once you get the contextual meaning, you will see the full weight of the text behind it, and inshallah you will get a bigger impulse to transform yourself. This is the purpose of the B2B reading, so that we get the full extent of the message. So that's all I have to say for this week. Inshallah, Quran and Human Being will be back maybe in a month's time with another presentation for the Quran-based Jummah. Many thanks for affording me this opportunity. As usual, I am not infallible. My reading is not infallible, so your comments and criticisms are more than welcome. We are always in a process of growth. Thank you once again. Bye.